Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
And welcome to the Johnnie Bobbo Show, Late Night Sports Radio on your Spreaker app. And Mark Grote and Kerry Wood, they're leading off the new 1-hour Johnnie Bobbo Show tonight. And yes, it's the same Mark Grote that you hear on 670 The Score, Chicago's pre- and post-game show host. And no, not the Kerry Wood that pitched for the Chicago Cubs, but Kerry Wood of Sports and Swag. He's going to break down, he's an NBA analyst. He's going to explain how the Golden State Warriors have wound up getting manhandled to this point by the Oklahoma Thunder in the conference finals. Then later on, we're going to talk to Celebratory Forties, get Cody in here, and he's going to tell us who he would have preferred to see the Prince tribute at the Billboard Awards last Sunday rather than just the skeleton of Madonna. But we'll take your thoughts here and on all those topics, Major League Baseball, Chicago Cubs. Give us a call, 585-633-7487. Otherwise, give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio and stream the show live right here, Late Night Sports Radio, on your Spreaker app, and download it on iTunes if you like. But we're going to cut right to it. Mark Grote. Mark Grote's doing stuff, celebrating life. Finally got a night off. How you doing, Mark Grote?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I got to sleep in, have what I like to call alarm clock-free sleep today, so I took advantage of that. And then, as we are wont to do on baseball days off, it's just a day that you can get everything done, pay the bills, get things cleaned up around your place, whatever you got to do, you got to do. So, yeah, just basically just reload and get ready for another long stretch of Cubs baseball.
Yeah, that's right. No auto pay for this guy, but I know Bob Sullivan. He loves the auto pay. How you doing, Bob Sullivan?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Oh, good Lord. You all right there?
Yeah. What was wrong with that intro?
Oh, you sounded gurgly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
that's all right. You're probably just super jacked to have Mark Grote on the show tonight as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm always jacked. Grote's is on.
Yeah, well, Mark Grote, obviously, we were talking a little bit before we went on the air here. I mean, Ben Zobrist, he turned 35 today, and you're not out there celebrating with him. But is there ever a chance we get to hang out with these guys off the clock? Where you're not trying to take notes or just go out there, have dinner and just kind of hang out and get to know them a little bit better.
We get some of that time when we're on the road a little bit in terms of like talking to them off of mic, like whether we're on the airplanes or a lot of times on the buses going to the ballpark, I'll get in a good conversation with a player about whatever. It doesn't have to be about baseball. I don't really make it a practice to go out per se with the players, like out for dinner or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, being that I'm around them as much as I am, and I'm lucky enough that I get to travel with the Cubs, there's a lot of times where we're just chit-chatting, remotely, whether it's on, like I said, plane, bus, hotel lobby, whatever the case may be. So it's kind of cool to get to know these guys a little bit differently than just baseball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's smart of you not to go out to dinner with these guys. That's a tab. I mean, I know you're making the big bucks now. You're still working for WSC 670 The Score. But that's the wrong tab to be picking up. And at least they don't treat you like a kicker in the NFL. You're allowed to still take the team jet and all that fun stuff. But
yeah,
yeah,
there's no doubt. I mean, I am definitely, being that this is only my second year, and all the other broadcasters that are working have way more seniority than I do. I am truly the low man on the totem pole. So let's just put it this way. I stand in the back of the line, getting onto the buses, getting onto the planes, going into the hotels, all that kind of stuff. So I'm paying my dues and showing my respect.
You still got a little bit more time with the team than Jim Deshaies, ain't it?
No, actually, Jim. Well, I kind of counted it as Jim. He did it with the Astros for all those years,
course,
and he actually. The main point of credibility for Jim Deshaies is that he actually played the game. So trust me, Jim Deshaies has tons of credibility and tons of seniority over me. And I think he has been doing the the TV gig. He was doing the TV gig, I think, 2 years before I got the job. So no matter how you look at it, Jim DeShays is well ahead of me.
Yeah, no, Jim's fantastic. But, kind of kicking it back to Zobrist here. I mean, 35 years old. He's on a 12-game hit streak. This is obviously, like I said, your day off. During that hit streak, he's batting .435, and you can, add as much weight as you want to when it comes down to, using batting average as a stat you're going to refer to. But, I mean, this is a guy that he's reached base safely in 31 straight games. And now, how big of a help would you say he's been as a leader in terms of preaching the organizational message at the plate, in terms of just going up there, seeing pitches, waiting for your specific pitch, and going with it?
Yeah, I think every once in a while a guy comes along that is A good guy, and then B, he's a total and complete professional. And usually I don't buy into the whole leadership thing, because I think that's just kind of a crock, really. I mean, it's just that if you're good, they're going to talk about good leadership. If you're bad, you're going to talk about bad leader. It's just I don't know how much to really look into actual leadership. What does a guy do? I mean, you don't see Ben Zobrist walking around telling guys what to do, but there are guys, I think, who truly do, and this sounds cliche, but I don't think it is, that do lead by example. And I think Ben Zobrist is one of those really rare birds where everybody kind of appreciates him and appreciates the way he goes about doing his work. It's not like some sort of strange, alternate method of going about prepping. It's studying pitchers, studying charts, sitting around the computer, watching video, doing all that kind of stuff, which I have seen him do in the clubhouse. And then, as you kind of alluded to, just his approach at the plate, which is just extreme patience. And because of that patience, he is, considered over the last 10 years or so one of the better players in baseball. If you look at a lot of the metrics that people like to look at now, Ben Zobrist is an MVP in that kind of category.
Yeah.
Obviously not an MVP
he was one of the
caliber player, but you know what I'm saying here. I mean, he's terrific, and he's highly likable too, which helps his cause.
That's awesome. And you think about it too. When people first started paying attention to like these other the other stats in terms of like sabermetrics and things, when it came out to WAR, he was always like one of the first guys. He kind of snuck up on everybody. It was like, oh, Ben Zobrist, he's a huge WAR number, and then all of a sudden everybody realized, oh, damn, this guy Ben Zobrist is actually kind of pretty good, And it's just kind of funny to see, that he's still sticking around doing it. And you don't realize he's been doing that for a decade, just about,
Yeah, well, and the thing is too is I've never really gotten to watch him play every day, and I think that's probably the case with a lot of people around here, Cubs fans. You hear about Ben Zobrist, and Joe Madden's been singing his praises since he got to the Cubs. About Ben Zobrist and how versatile this guy is, and as you said, with the sabermetrics and what he brings to you intangibly and all that kind of stuff. And then when you actually see him play every day, you're like, oh, this is what everybody's been talking about. So, I didn't know. Honestly, I was a little skeptical. I know we got to see him a little bit more when he was with Kansas City. I guess I was slightly skeptical because he's 35 years old now, and you didn't know exactly what you were. Well, I should just speak for myself. I didn't know what they were getting in Ben Zobrist because I hadn't seen him play much, and I realized that the dude is a terrific player, and I don't know that I've ever seen a better pro in sports, let alone baseball.
It's crazy.
Mark, looking at the last couple of weeks, the Cubs have had a kind of a pedestrian last couple of weeks, or what you would call in baseball, a normal lull at some point during the season.
Yeah.
How are the players reacting to that, and is there anything alarming that's happened in these last couple of weeks that might be a little bit of a trend, or should we just they'll get back on track and ignore this little rough stretch that they've had?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's like chronically alarming. I mean, I would definitely like to see Anthony Rizzo snap out of the funk that he's been in. I think that, Adam Warren has given up some pretty big home runs recently. I'm sure that will curb itself because he was just so good during his first 4 or 5 appearances. So, those are things that I don't think are. I know the Anthony Rizzo thing is not chronic. He'll snap out of it. So I guess I would just put it as I would like to see those things start to even themselves out a little bit, and I'm pretty positive that they will. I don't think that there is anything, though, where you look at it and say, yeah, this is going to continue to be a problem or a weak spot or whatever the case may be. They had, I think it was put pretty well by Chris Bryant, a really good ending to a very average road trip, and that's exactly what it was, and they're going to be average in stretches again. But, there's enough talent and enough legitimacy on that team to where you can't really say, well, this is a real problem at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, we're talking to Mark Grote, pre- and post-game show host for the Chicago Cubs on WSCR 670 The Score here in Chicago. And, you mentioned Anthony Rizzo, and now from May 15th to May 22nd, he went one for 25 with 1 RBI, still reaching base at a typically elite rate. But, it just seems that, he's had just so many issues, at the dish. And one of the guys that everybody has kind of been, knocking and saying, they've brought up all these prospects, and, everybody so far has done fantastic. But one of the guys that were talking about maybe sending back to the minors, at least the fans were talking, was Jorge Soler. And now he was kind of, in a little bit of a rough stretch there, but popped out of it the other night, then got a day off. And then Joe Madden says, everybody's asking why I sat him for a day. You were just talking about sending this guy down to the minors. I mean, how do you feel about Jorge Soler? Because we've been high on him for a while because he's a fantastic hitter. I mean, he's so fast, those long legs, and just hits the hell out of the ball. Where are you on Jorge right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the key part with Jorge Soler is that nobody really knows what he is yet or where this guy maxes out, that he still could have superstar potential. I mean, he can be a little frustrating because there has been an inconsistency. There's been, 2 different Jorge Solers, the one with this tremendous ahead of his time sort of plate discipline, and then the one that is the antithesis where he's not patient at the plate. I think recently, he's been better. I mean, he took a bases-loaded walk the other day against St. Louis. I thought that was really good. I think he came back from a 1-2 count to make it full and then fouled off a couple pitches and then eventually accepted his walk. I think he's starting to I don't know if the terminology buy into, but I think he's starting to buy into the program a little bit more, that the rest of the young guys like Chris Bryant and Addison Russell, and before he was injured, Kyle Schwarber, where you wait for your pitch and you accept your walks, where you don't look for a walk, but you accept your walks when they come your way, and you don't always have to hit the crap out of the ball, where getting a walk can sometimes be just as valuable as, getting, a home run or a base hit or whatever the case may be, is get on base and good things are going to happen. So I think that the people that are frustrated with him, I get it. I mean, he's been inconsistent, and there's been some key spots in which he hasn't come through this year. So I'm just waiting to see it kick in, and I think that people who are down on him, if Jorge Soler is not going to pan out with the Cubs, I guarantee you that Joe Madden's not going to keep him in that lineup every day. But I have a good feeling about Jorge Soler that he is going to make major contributions to this version of the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, and and that's kind of funny. You talk about how people aren't really sure, what to expect of Jorge at this point, and and what is he going to become, and this and that, and one of the guys that was kind of a holdover from the previous regime is Javier Baez, and now Man's been able to find a way to get him in the lineup quite a few different ways. Especially with Schwarber going down, even heard Man admit that that it's kind of goofed it up a little bit in terms of the amount of playing time he had scheduled for guys, but. Going into today, you had Jorge Soler had 126 plate appearances, Javier Baez with 90, and Tommy LaStella with 78. I mean, seeing how cerebral Joe Madden is, and the way he's doing this, and the way he's making sure that he can keep guys in action and not keep them on the bench for too long, and to get the other guys in there and kind of keep mixing it up. Is there anything that just this week alone that Joe Madden has said to you, where you're just like, holy cow? I mean, you're talking about accepting walks, okay? That's a mindset. That's a terminology very specific to what they're doing. You don't hear that much from other teams. You know what I mean? We're talking about accepting a walk. It's a philosophy, a way of looking at it. Did anything Joe Madden passed down to you this week that kind of stood out?
Well, I think that his desire to you mentioned the quote unquote extra guys like Tommy LaStella and Javier Baez and Jorge Soler. One thing that Joe, I guess this is not really telling any secrets or telling anything that people don't know, but Joe is very into, advanced scouting, and he does pay attention to the sabermetrics, and when, he's very good at finding the right matchup. He's very good at knowing, okay, this is a day that Tommy La Stella should start. This is a day that probably Javier Baez should start. This is definitely a day for Jorge Soler. So I think it's very interesting to sort of watch the way he goes about those. We're not going to learn everything from him when he goes through his manifestations of the lineup, but he's going to kind of tell you what's up. I think it was Jorge Soler. I think it was the second Cardinals game where he had a really terrific game, and then everybody's like, well, why isn't he playing the third, the very next day, as what you referred to earlier, and it was about matchups, and he had Tommy La Stella in there instead. So I think that kind of stands out, that he doesn't play the same game that everybody else does. That it's more about, and it's not about making other players happy too. He's never going to do that. It's about what is the best matchup, what is the best way to win this game today. So it's an interesting way of looking at things.
Well, Mark, I think the thing that people that haven't really talked about with the second wild card team in each league is how much it affects the trade deadline, because now there's more teams that think they have a shot to at least get into the playoffs. So that limits the number of teams that are going to make a move. And, only the teams like the Twins or the Braves and, teams that are really out of it, which will be about 3 or 4, 5 per league each year. But if you're the Cubs, do you stand pat with this roster right now? Or, did you see anything in these last couple of weeks that make you think, okay, they should consider making a move towards the deadline or in the next few weeks for a piece like this? And who would be that? Do you think that piece would be that gets moved?
The only area, actually, it's not even necessarily an area that needs improving. It's certainly not. But I am always for, if you can get another real ass starting pitcher, add to your rotation, because you know how it is. Like when you look at the Cubs starting rotation, they've been great. Hamill has been terrific. John Lester, say for his last start, has been terrific. We all know about Jake Arrieta. Kyle Hendricks has been coming on strong for sure. Improving from last year, getting back to more of what he was, a couple of years ago. So this is not to be critical of what they have, but if you could find another starter, like another Arrieta and or Lester type, where you just feel really good about those two guys, like those two guys are out there, and you feel like you're going to win. If you could find another one of those guys out there, then that's exactly what if I said that a need is not even the right word, but if you can find that, I say you go get that, because there's nothing better than that feeling of having the Lester or the Arrieta type on the mound when you go into a game.
See, and now maybe this guy's not a stud. What about James Shields? You know what I mean? I would still think that Jed Hoyer still has some connections there in San Diego with some people in the front office. Any wheeling and dealing there? Would you be okay with the James Shields? I know they call him Big Game James, but I'm not saying that he's that guy though. I don't think he is.
Well, he pitches.
I think you're right, John. I don't think he's necessarily that guy anymore. But like where you feel like that's a guy that's going to go. And honestly, I don't. Maybe we're wrong about that, because he's sort of lost there in San Diego right now, and we don't really. He's another guy I don't see every day, so I don't know exactly what's going on during his starts. And if he's lost interest just because he's in San Diego and life is good off the field, but on the field it doesn't really matter. So if he went to a competitive situation, would he become Big Game James again? He's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. I think one of the guys going into this season that I had thought about, and it was kind of a pipe dream on my part, because this team is probably going to end up, it is already competing for a division title, was Corey Kluber. Unless the Indians completely crumble, that guy's not going to be around. But for some reason, he always came to my mind. And then the real dream before the season started for me was a guy like Chris Archer, but I think they would probably ask for most of the Cubs farm system for that.
Yeah.
Also, Mark, is there, this is actually more of a personal question, but now that you are doing pre- and post-game show for the Cubs, have you noticed any increase in dumb questions to your Twitter account?
dumb questions to my Twitter account. Actually, Bob, I am just trying to limit the dumb questions that I ask the players on a daily basis. So I don't know if I have any room to talk. But no, the Twitter questions have been mostly good. Every once in a while you get, like during this stretch of lull or slump or whatever word you like to use, there's been a lot of sort of panicked people, like get rid of Hayward, bench Hayward, trade Hayward, stuff like that. And, I knew this was going to happen. They need another bat. They're without, so I haven't had many dumb questions, but I've definitely had some people who I feel like I've needed to talk off the ledge a little bit. And I embrace the people who want to be critical of what happens in a game every day. That's totally fine because that is what we do. We talk about every single Cubs game, so I love it when people want to, if you want to call in and rip on a guy because he gives up a game-winning home run or because he went 0 for 4 in a game, that's fine, but it's the grand pronouncements at this point that we have to be careful of.
Do you notice it more on the radio, the comments, or on Twitter? Like, are you getting the, is it the same amount of, not dumbness, but the same amount of panic? Is there a difference between the people that call in and the people that tweet at you?
He's asking if you get Chris Ranji syndrome. Do you get Chris Ranji syndrome when you're going through the post game, or you want to kill people?
No, honestly, I have not yet. I mean, most of the people that have called have been pretty measured, and as well they should be. I mean, just considering the start that the Cubs have had. Even the people that are worried usually have done it with a qualifier, by saying, look, I know the Cubs have had this great start, so this may sound silly, but so honestly, Cubs fans have been terrific and with their calls. I'm not saying it's perfect, but for the most part, my life has been easy because the Cubs have been winning at such a high rate. So I mean, it's and as far as Twitter is concerned, for the most part, I mean, there you get your fair share of people who will. And I don't mind engaging people unless they say something that's like personal or towards a player, or just something that's just distasteful that I won't engage. But for the most part, I don't mind engaging with people.
Yeah. And now, right before we let you go, at Mark Grote Sports, you can find him on Twitter, pre- and post-game show on WSCR 670 The Score. Mark Grote right here. Vin Scully, I'm sure you adore him as we all do. But he turned down an opportunity to call the All-Star game with Fox, whether it be as a guest, whether to come in and call the entire game. And he said that, he turned it down. He said he didn't want to overshadow the players. He's not Kobe Bryant, and he's just out there calling the games. How much are you going to miss our guy Vin Scully?
Yeah, well, honestly, it's too bad that I wish I've always missed Vin Scully. Since the days that he used to do the national stuff, he used to do when I was a kid. He would do the NBC Game of the Week. So honestly, when he leaves, it's not going to be that big a deal to me because I never get to hear him much, and I don't like go out on my way to stay up late and watch Dodgers games. So it won't really be much of a shock to my system. So honestly, I'm disappointed though that he's not doing the inning because it would have been a chance to hear him and see him on a national stage. And honestly, if he's just doing one inning, he's not going to be overshadowing the players. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I would imagine that'd be tough though. Like I could kind of understand like maybe he's really not doing it because he doesn't want to overshadow the players. I would just think it would just be sort of uncomfortable just to come in and do an inning.
A nice meal for an inning.
Yeah, it's like, and I think there'd be a certain degree of pressure too. It's like, here's this all-world guy that everybody worships and loves and looks up to and says, this is the guy that I idolize, and then, okay, now you got to do an inning and you got to be the greatest ever. So, I don't know.
Good story, Grandpa.
Yeah, I can kind of see it from his perspective, although I wish he would do it, quite frankly.
Bobbo, you had something?
I do have one last question. Okay, I posed this question to Brian Keating on my show. All right, this is kind of a complex question, but you know how they did with Tupac? His
hologram?
The thing at Coachella or whatever it was, the hologram. My question is, you know how they can kind of mess with voices and whatnot and turn it to somebody else's voice? Who would be an announcer that has passed on, where Mark Grote is delivering the game, but they alter your voice so we're hearing somebody else. Like who, like, does that make sense? Does my question make sense where you can alter the voice so you get to hear, I don't know, Harry Carey call a game?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I think, Johnny, I think we gave Bob way too much time to think about that question. We got to.
That was a great question.
Yeah. What's funny is I think I understand your question, and actually the name that kept coming to my brain when you were talking was indeed Harry Carey. So I don't know if my answer makes any more sense than your question does, but does that answer your question?
It does answer my question. And the question is very complicated, but yes.
I mean, layers of complexity right there. I appreciate the thought that went into you asking that question. Like, I really felt like you starting off with Tupac, and moving it into Harry Carey and the hologram. I mean, that is you take pride in your questions, my friend, and I appreciate it.
And I thought of that on the fly during one of my shows when I asked it. So I was pretty good. Thinking about it when somebody was talking, which tells you a lot about.
Hey, if you don't have that copyrighted, I might ask a player that question tomorrow.
Yeah, please do.
I will.
Oh, well, God bless you, Mark Grote. Enjoy your night. Thank you so much for taking time for us tonight on your evening off. I really appreciate it.
I always enjoy talking to you guys, so you guys have a wonderful show.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right.
Our guy, Mark Grote, you need to follow him at Mark Grote Sports on Twitter. Absolutely fantastic listen. His pre- and post-game show, he's just as funny as he is with us as he is on the pre- and post-game show. It's great. So you need to check that out. It's WSCR 670 The Score. And Bob, I mean, you're going to miss Vin Scully a little bit, right? I know I do, but
I'll be 100% honest with you. I've never listened to a game he's called.
Really? But you've heard one of those famous calls before, ain't it? Where he's telling a story. He tells a story about Dwight Gooden where a crack pipe fell out of his pocket. It was his father's jacket, and he loved his father, but he never saw him, and he wore his father's jacket to school one day, and then a crack pipe fell out of his pocket in school. No, nothing like that?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one, but I'm sure it was fantastic. I'm sure Vin Scully.
The guy's got awesome stories.
Yeah, I'm sure he could tell a story to a bunch of people that aren't me. But I don't know. Again,
it's okay.
I mean, there was no Dodgers games on TV when I was growing up, and I don't get MLB extra innings or anything like that. So it's pretty much WGN or Joe Buck or bust, and those aren't the most savory of options that you get for listening to a base.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. But you know who we call
if it was on WGN, I would wind up listening to what's his name, Harry, or I would listen to Pat and Ron.
Pat and Ron. Oh, yeah, I know they're Cubs guys. Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. Ron Santo was always kind of crazy, but you know who's not crazy? Kerry Wood. Our guy, he's not a Chicago Cubs pitcher, but he's of sportsandswag.com, at Sports and Swag on the internet. You can find it right there on the Twitter bot. How you doing tonight, Kerry?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for hanging along with us there. I know Bob kind of gets off the tracks here a little bit, and I just keep talking. I don't know when to shut the hell up, so that's kind of my problem.
That's no problem at all. I'm actually a big Cardinals fan, but I was kind of enjoying the Cubs talk.
Oh yeah, well that's good. That's good. And I noticed like at Sports and Swag, you kind of cover quite a few things, but you do a lot of NBA, right?
I do. Yes. Well, especially right now, of course.
Oh yeah, obviously. And I mean, I got to ask you this. I mean, has the NBA sunk to an NFL level in terms of just ugliness by not suspending Draymond Green for kicking Steven Adams in the jewels?
Probably so. Yeah, it was very. The thing I didn't like about it was the first having it being called this a flagrant one, and then you go and change it the next day and to a flagrant two. It just seemed to me if it was going to be a flagrant one, to me it should have probably stayed that way. But I do understand. I don't want to get kicked like that. I mean, it was just a crazy play, but whether he did it intentionally or not, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I thought the fine was. I thought it was justified because it being a flagrant one, if it would have been called a flagrant two, then yeah, it should have, from the jump, then yeah, it should have been a suspension. But I thought they kind of made the right call, and I'm probably kind of the minority on that.
See, like my only issue is when I say they're singing to the NFL's level is that they're going to do what's best for the sport rather than doing the thing that's right. You know what I mean? I don't know if that would have been any other player, they would have dealt with it otherwise. But I mean, just knowing that, like, oh hey, I mean, it just adds to the conspiracy theory with the envelopes at the draft that were in the hot ice or whatever they call that stuff, and just having the super cold envelope inside the jug. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like they want to help out the Warriors.
There's no conspiracy when
it to it, don't you
they're
think?
losing by 30.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, no shit. But I mean, it's Draymond Green. I mean, that's a guy that should have been out there on the court. I mean, they really don't stand half as much a chance as they do without him as they do with him. So, I mean, it just seems like the NBA said, you know what, man? I mean, defending champs, 73 wins. You got to get this guy out there, and I just felt like they just ended up going against their best judgment. And rather than normally suspending him, they said, yeah, let's just keep him out there on the floor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Green is also starting to get that kind of reputation where normally if he just taps someone, then it's going to be, like tonight, he got one. He got a flagrant. Not a flagrant, sorry, a technical.
Okay.
And, and I think it's the reputation that's really starting to catch up with him. I really do. So, yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. And there's no question the Warriors definitely need Draymond Green.
Yeah, I mean, hell, they came up to win tonight. They ended up winning 120 to 111 in Game 5 here. So, I mean, did you expect them to come back and actually get the win here in Game 5 after kind of getting beat down the way they did? Because, I mean, it looks like they got beat down a bunch of different ways. I looked at two of your articles. One was talking about how they did such a great job of beating them by going small. And then the very next one, it's about them winning by going big. You know what I mean? They're able to do so many different things with that Thunder team. And, yeah, it's a super impressive from my standpoint. Do you see them winning that Game 5 here with the Warriors?
Yeah, for the most part, I was kind of maybe 60-40 in Golden State's corner tonight. I thought just going back home, having the energy, having the crowd behind them, I thought would be a little bit too much for Oklahoma City. But I think it was really good showing by the Thunder. You didn't know if they would just come in and say, okay, well, we've got a 3-1 lead. Let's just go. We'll show up in Oakland, but we'll take it back to Oklahoma and just finish it out there. But they did a really good job. But you have to give credit to Golden State. They did what they had to do under some pressure, I would say, and got it done.
Yeah. Bobbo?
As far as this, Thunder OKC series goes, with this win tonight, there was a lot, I feel like there was a lot of calls in this game that, especially early on, that the Warriors got. And the Warriors, although they shot a good percentage in the first half, they did not make a lot of their open shots that could have turned this into another 25-point win for one team or the other. And I feel like the Warriors should have won this by at least 20 points if they had made their open shots with how well they shot on contested shots.
Right.
Do you think going forward, is it alarming to you how many open shots
My
they've
husband
missed
travels all.
It is a bit alarming. I think what's going on here is that comfort zone has been infiltrated by Oklahoma City. When you look at Curry, his game is having the space. He has to have the space to make moves, to get into the paint. I mean, he's so much more than just a guy that can shoot perimeter shots. His game is predicated on him getting to the rim, setting up other people, and then when he doesn't have the ball, he's great with as far as making cuts to the hoop, playing off screens or what have you, and. Oklahoma City's size and their length and their athleticism, to me, has taken that away from Golden State. And I think you saw them get back a little bit to that tonight. But when you have that size and you have that athleticism, and those guys are able to get out and contest shots like Oklahoma City's done in the series, I think it kind of plays in your head a little bit. And I think that's probably why you saw them miss some open shots, and probably the reason Oklahoma City's probably going to close this thing out Saturday night.
Looking in the Toronto-Cleveland series, again, blowout central in Game 5. Going back home for Toronto, I didn't think that they'd come within 15 after those first two games. Obviously, played well in Game 3. Game 4, they managed to, once they got punched back by Cleveland, they were able to manage to come back and win that Game 4. Game 5, it was just a dumpster fire. Do you see, a motivated LeBron, a Kevin Love, and Kyrie shooting well again? You see that carrying back to Toronto because it didn't carry over the last time, or do you see this going 7?
I think it can. I think the one thing that in Game 4 Game 4 that happened at the end, I thought Cleveland kind of got their wits about them. They were able to, they were down 15, 16 points early in that game, but they were able to kind of come back, even though they didn't finish it and win it. They were able to kind of get their rhythm back, I think. So I think they know how they're getting those 3-point shots. I think they kind of forgot that. They kind of started jacking them up instead of spreading the floor, getting the passing going. I think they got back to that last night, and I believe they'll be able to do it. I still expect a close game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Toronto wins and does take it to a 7, even if Cleveland does play well. But I think Cleveland's kind of gotten back in sync, and I think they'll be okay.
Looking at the, playoffs in general, I think we've had 8 25 or 30-plus point blowouts. Do you think it's a matter of, David Stern not being the commissioner anymore, or what do you think the correlation is there? Do you think it's just bad games, teams? My theory is the 3-point shot. Teams take so many that if a team gets hot, gets rolling, they expand the lead, and the other team has been missing threes, and that's just the difference is when a team's hot, they keep going in from 3, and when a team's missing, they keep shooting and keep digging themselves a bigger hole. What is your theory on all these blowouts?
I think it kind of goes back to old school. I think when you look back in the 80s and 90s, you saw, the Lakers and the Celtics and all those teams, maybe, even the Sixers and, even those teams back then had 20 or 30 point blowouts, and then they come back and win the series. I think it's just going into that, going on the road, playing in front of that hostile crowd is kind of, like you say, and I do agree with your theory as well. You're shooting a lot of threes, shooting a lot of jumpers. The other team, they're getting fast breaks, and it's feeding into that crowd. It's hard. And then when you get that momentum going, and then you're fighting 20,000 instead of 5 on the court. So I think that has a lot to do with it, and I think it's nothing more than that. I don't think it's anything where the NBA is so much worse than it used to be or anything like that. I just think is that home court advantage means a lot.
Do you think, my opinion is, Detroit, although they didn't beat Cleveland, they gave them, fairly good games. And their key was, when Cleveland was not making their threes during those games, Detroit was able to counter with some body blows with mid-range jumpers. And when Toronto's been competitive or winning games, it's when their mid-range is on and they're not settling for threes, and Cleveland's threes aren't going in from Love and Kyrie. And I think I think there's teams, obviously Golden State made it last year on, finding a way to be a jump shooting team that wins. But you also, the teams that just completely desert the mid-range game altogether, I I think that's a complete mistake. And I think you got to have a little bit of that to counter when your threes aren't going in.
Oh, totally agree. I mean, that's why I kind of like a guy like DeMar DeRozan. I mean, he's not the best, from 3-point range, but he has a great mid-range game. That is his game, and it's totally being ignored. You're right. I mean, but what do you see when you look at SportsCenter? You see dunks, you see 3-pointers, and that's what all the kids are looking at right now. And that's, they want to play that way. You see Steph Curry throwing up 35, 40-foot shots, and they want to be like that. And so, it's not being seen. Like you said, it's non-existent now. So, and hopefully, some kind of way we'll get back to that. I know, I think we would kind of like we look at football, especially college football. I think you see your team, let's spread it out, and you've got one back sets or whatever, and 4 wide receivers on the 2-yard line going in, and instead of just running it down someone's throat, I think you're kind of seeing that kind of get back to more of the power of football, just a little bit here and there. And I think sooner or later you're going to kind of see that kind of turn around in the NBA a little bit again too.
Yeah, and here, go ahead. You had something about?
Oh, my last question is, looking at the all NBA teams that came out, obviously the popular opinion is to go pick 3 guards or 3 backcourt players and 2 front court players instead of having a DeAndre Jordan on the first team. And I don't necessarily disagree. I disagree with him being on the first team for them needing a center, but do you think that they should go 3 backcourt, 2 front court, or do you think it should just be 5 best players on each team, pretty much? Because that's the way we're going right now. Does it even have to be a backcourt and front court? Should it just be 5 best players on each team?
I think it should be just the 5 best players, but I would agree with you. I think probably DeMarcus Cousins should have been the first team center. But I don't have a problem with DeAndre Jordan being that. To be honest with you, I mean, look what he does for his team. I mean, he brings his lunch pail every game. He averages a double-double. So I really don't have a problem with DeAndre Jordan being on that either. But I think I would have gone DeMarcus Cousins. But I think ultimately should just be the best 5. I mean, if you've got 3 guards that are playing better than everyone, then I don't have a problem with it. Let's say maybe it was, Klay Thompson or someone, if you wanted to, I wouldn't say this season, but let's say he had a season where he could be first team All-American, All-NBA. And, I wouldn't have a problem you put him at the small forward or whatever or something like that. So, yeah, I just think it should be the best 5. And one thing I'd like to add, if you don't mind, I mean, what about James Harden not being on the list?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty wild. I mean, although I can't say it, I'm also a big Houston Rockets fan, so I'm just put that out there. But I kind of agree with him not being there. It just really kind of threw me. The guy that averaged 29 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, to not even make the third team was just pretty incredible to me.
Do you find it with the, everybody's so critical of the centers in the NBA right now that it's a dead position. And I think, looking at a Bismack Biyombo, you look at Festus Ezeli, you look at Jonas Valanciunas, there's going to be some big names or some centers that are getting some big money. I don't think it's necessarily that these centers are less talented or don't have the ability to, go get 20 and 10, whether it be, a DeAndre Jordan or whoever. But they're not allowed to. I mean, they're pretty much told, okay, you get the ball in the paint. They're not taught any post moves anymore. It's catch it, rebound, dunk it, or kick it out for another 3. So I don't think it's the fault of these centers. I think it's the fault of the coaches. And if you really wanted to, you could, Bismack, he doesn't really have an offensive game, but when he's been allowed to play, when he's been put into the situation he's been in, he's been great defensively, great on the offensive and defensive glass. And I think there's a potential for an offensive game there. Now, I mean, does he deserve a $100 million contract? No, probably not. But, Tristan Thompson got a bunch of money this offseason for doing pretty much what Bismack Biyombo is doing right now.
Right. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, that's kind of where contracts are right now anyway. You got a guy that can hit the offensive boards like a Tristan Thompson, or block shots and have the type series Biyombo has had here against Cleveland. It's really invaluable right now because, like you said, there's such a shortage, and when you have a guy that can play in the middle like that, even though he's not scoring, it's still very valuable. I don't have a problem with them making that kind of money. I really don't. I think because if you look at it, even though they're not scoring, but a block shot, maybe starts a fast break or whatever, or you're getting rebounds that the other team isn't getting, and you're getting extra shot. I mean, look at what Steven Adams is doing in this series against Golden State. I mean, it's and again the last series against San Antonio. It's just things he's doing is changing the game, and so even though he may not be putting up 20 points. If you add everything else he does, maybe it's giving Russell Westbrook a few points here or Durant a few points there. So, to me, they're just as valuable even though they're not having the scoring. But another thing, I do agree with you totally. I think it's really terrible, though, that they're not teaching those guys the basics of, backing a guy down to the hoop and, making a jump hook or up and under move or whatever. And that it's kind of sad that art has gone away from the game.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, Kerry, thank you so much for coming on, man. We can find it at sportsandswag.com, at sportsandswag on Twitter. Thanks so much for coming on. I mean, late second here, but that was fantastic stuff.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me on, and you guys are a really professional group, and I enjoyed it.
No, hell yeah, man. No, we're going to be sharing your page and make sure you like it. Sports and Swag. And again, we're going to have you back on pretty soon here, Kerry. We're going to talk a little bit more NBA Finals. What do you think?
Hey, man, sounds good. Yeah, y'all have a good one now.
You too. Take care, Kerry. And there he is, Kerry Wood at Sports and Swag on Twitter. Find him there. And now we're going to bring it up to our buddy to wrap up the back half of the show. He's been waiting patiently because he loves us. Cody VanCura, Celebratory Forties, bro. What are you celebrating tonight? Anything exciting or what?
Hey, guys. Yeah, not doing much tonight. Just calling it an easy one at home.
Oh man, I thought you were back on the pony, no?
No, it was only one night.
Ah, what a bummer. But that's okay. How things going with the lady friends? Everybody's still happy? Are you doing your thing, or what's going on here? I know Keith needs an update.
Yeah, no, things are better. Met my new girl on Tinder. Things are going pretty good.
Booyah. So, okay, this is kind of the thing we tease. I'm just going to get right to it right off the get-go. At the Billboard Awards, they ended up teasing the entire time about, check out the great Prince tribute. It's coming up. It's coming next. It's right after this commercial. And then you get it, and all you get is a skeleton of Madonna. I mean, how disappointed were you in that? I mean, wouldn't you think a compilation of artists? Because I'm pretty sure damn near everybody in that room and that was on Billboard's charts was in some way, shape, or form influenced by that, man. Don't you think?
It was terrible. I was expecting to see, Bruno Mars, Beyonce.
Right.
And we were stuck with Madonna. It was awful. I don't know what they were thinking when they set up that tribute, but it's going to be looked back for years as how bad it was. Like, Prince would be embarrassed if he saw that.
I know, right? I mean, you go through. I mean, the guy's got enough music in his vault, okay, a physical vault in the basement of his home that to put out a new record every year for at least a decade, and that's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, no. So I mean, that kind of chaps my ass, and I don't know.
And especially a tribute, it should be people who are influenced by Prince. It shouldn't be someone from the same generation. It made no sense at all.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And I think the only thing out of that entire Billboard award show that Bobbo would have liked was seeing Britney Spears fill out that bikini yet again. She's rocking that show in Las Vegas. She's making some money out there.
Yeah, she's looking really good from everything that she's been through. She made a full recovery. Good for her.
Yeah, were you excited to see that, Bob? Did you watch that?
I did not. I don't watch award shows.
Well, I know, but I'm sure once you saw she was in a bikini, you clicked on that link, right?
I didn't even know she was in a bikini.
Really? Man, you missed. All right, well, fine.
I mean, if she was on,
send it your way.
If she was on the what do you call it? That those like 600 channels on DirecTV, the ones where it's like
and all that fun stuff. Yeah,
like MILF, it's like MILF Bangs 75.
Funny joke.
Yeah, and it's Britney Spears. I'd be watching, but
yeah,
unless the top's off, I'm probably not going to tune in.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What about you now, Cody? Yes, Cody, you with us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you asked Keith. I didn't catch that.
I think Cody was offended by me saying Britney Spears getting pile drived.
No, I'd say to do that, but I thought she looked really good. I mean, no, I don't know how old she is, but she's getting up there. She's not no school girl anymore, but she looks good. Totally give her a smooch.
Oh, look at that! It's good for you, Cody. And now
Kevin Federline and Naylor.
What's that guy?
Kevin Federline's a former WWE superstar.
God,
yeah, well, I could dress up like that.
So another guy likes to dress up. Garth Brooks. He's playing some shows again. He's going on a world tour, first time in 18 years. You got to be thrilled about that, aren't you, Cody?
Oh,
I'm not a big country fan, but Garth Brooks is pretty inoffensive. I've never had a problem with him.
Honestly, though, Cody, who in China or Russia or anywhere that's not the South gonna want to see Garth Brooks?
Nobody.
Like, I like Garth Brooks, but who other than white people are gonna want to watch him?
Yeah, no one, man. I mean, he has a very niche audience.
Hey, it could be Donald Trump's here. It could be
people in Bangladesh or Bangkok or anything else with bang in it is going to want to watch him perform.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Those are probably the same people that are buying the M&M package where he's selling a brick and a cassette tape and a what? And a T-shirt. Yeah, so a brick, a cassette tape, and a T-shirt, $350. M&M will help you out.
Stupid. And he needs his... I'm not even going to talk about him. Eminem is irrelevant. Man, we've been praising him for beating his mother and beating his wife or girlfriend or whatever for far too long. I don't care. You can take the brick you sell and you bash his head in. Eminem should bash his head in with that brick.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, no, everybody loves it. He's such a fantastic rapper. But yeah, no.
The only thing Eminem has ever done is brainwashed a generation of white kids into thinking they could rap.
So, it gave us hope.
Oh, Cody, it's all about hope, dude. That's like South Korea. Apparently, they've invented an ice cream that cures hangovers. South Korea, Asia's hardest drinking country, has introduced a hangover-curing ice cream bar filled with Genonandai.
Do they have an ice cream that prevents North Korea from pointing nuclear weapons at them? Is that too far? Is that too far?
Nah, it's fine. We do stuff like that.
I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good joke. Come on, anybody?
It was good, Bob.
Thank you.
Somebody had to give it to you. I missed part of that. I was scanning through the interwebs here and trying to flip through Cody's Celebratory Forties Facebook page with all sorts of cool stuff. So, Cody, my man, I got to tell you, I know you had a band for us this week. We're gonna bring them up next week, but
Bishop, yeah, they also had a show tonight at Beat Kitchen.
Where
it was at Beat Kitchen, so it's kind of late now, but yeah, they're a real rocking band. So I'm excited to have them on next week.
Yeah, and real quick, did it bum you out with John Barry passing away, founding member of the Beastie Boys, died at 52 years old this week?
Not a big Beastie Boys fan, but it's always sad when something like that happens. So, yeah.
You totally love he's totally a Beastie fan. You got a tail. So are you wearing a tail right now, Cody?
Yeah, I actually am.
Cody, did you have a rat tail when you were growing up?
I actually have a rap group. You could find it on MySpace, Grapester Killers. I will link it on the page later.
Did you have a rat tail?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Did you have a
rat
rat
tail? I thought you said rap battle.
No. Rat tail, sir.
Oh, no, yeah, I did have a rat tail a few years ago.
Just a few years ago? You had one as a kid?
Well, let's get into
I had a full mullet when I was a kid.
Uh-oh. Rap battle. I think Bob's calling you out.